Open your Bible back to Joshua chapter 25, and we're going, or 24, and we're going to look at verse number 14 again. And just some things, fathers are a need in America, those that are committed, those who want to serve Him. And if you notice, he said in Joshua 24, verse 14, he said, "Now therefore fear the Lord, and serve Him in sincerity and in truth, and put away the gods which your fathers served on the other side of the flood and in Egypt, and serve ye the Lord." And we talked about this morning. He's going to take them back through memory lane. And history is important. Don't ever lose the fact. People, history keeps you from making the same mistake twice. That's what history does. Listen. Societies have tried this sexual perverted society that we're trying to do in America now. And you know what happened to every one of them? They've been destroyed. Sodom and Gomorrah, Pompeii, Roman Empire, we can just keep going down the list. So we ought to be smart enough to realize, hey, if it didn't work for them, it's probably not going to work for us. That's the truth. Because the problem is, it's not the people that's not accepting it, it's God that's not accepting it. It's God that brings His wrath down upon the people that embrace this. So history is important. Another thing we looked at, history is important for one very basic thing. You can lose a generation to the world in one generation. That's where we are today. Most children today, I hate to say this, have no clue what structure serving God looks like and attending church is. It's sad. I couldn't imagine growing up like that. When we were growing up, I'm going to tell you right now, most children went to one church or another. You had an idea what going to church was and how to behave in church and act in church. You learned those basic things. You have kids today that have never walked into church other than a wedding and a funeral. And I hate to see the trend in America, but people, they don't want to have weddings at churches anymore in America. They want venues. Because people don't want to walk into church. I go to a venue, I'm not going to go to church. Why? Do you think we're going to get up here and preach for? I know some of them, maybe I ought to. But venues are the big thing now. No, let's go back to what's important. And you take funerals, for instance. Most funerals, the body doesn't go back to their home church. Brother Skinner, I used to love him all the time. He said, "I want to go back. They're going to bury me in the church." He said, "For one reason, I'm going to make the devil mad one more time that I went to church." You stop and you think, most people, they do it in the funeral home, and we do it because of convenience. People, if you bring a body from Roseneath here and carry it back, you're going to pay out the nose for it. And funerals are expensive now. It's just out and out ridiculous. The price of a funeral. Y'all do know what the definition of a hypocrite is, don't you? That's a funeral director looking sad knowing he's fixing to pocket 10 grand.
Yeah. Or more.
That's what a hypocrite is.
At least 10.
Yeah. You need this cash. I don't mean to be ugly, people, but when I'm buried, I don't care what I'm buried in. Don't care. Why? Because I ain't there. Brother Skinner used to go by and he said, "When you walk by my casket, I want you to look at me and think, there's the shell. The nut's already gone to glory." People, that's what it ought to be like. Hey, put me in a plywood box. Put me in a panel box. I don't care. Why? I'm not here. I've heard people say, "Well, I don't want to be buried because I'm afraid things one of these days will crawl over me." You won't be there. The thought of being buried alive will make sure you're dead. Bigger knife. We'll make sure you qualify. It's amazing how we are. And in one generation, we've lost the focus of the house of God. There's more focus put on college today than what are you going to do for God. I'm being serious, people. I'm not trying to make light of this. I'm being serious as I can. We are spending more money, more time getting a child ready to go to college that's going to be corrupt by liberal, communist, sympathizing teachers. I've talked to parents that sent their kids to college, and they have come back and told me, you know, my child went as a Christian and they come back a communist. That's where we are today. They're going to take your child and they're going to, and you have to remember, I'm not trying to be ugly, people. Children today are not taught to think for themselves. They follow the herd. Wherever the herd goes is where they go. You know, my favorite animal, I've never seen one in the wild. I always want to see one and want to follow one around a little bit, but I'm sort of a little scared at the same time. My favorite animal is a wolverine. He don't care. If you're a grizzly bear, he don't care. If you're a cougar, he don't care. You're a pack of wolves, you better bring enough because some of them are going to leave hurt. That wolverine's going to bounce around and do his own thing. He don't care. And if you think he cares, go over there and slap him upside the head. But when you slap him upside the head, you better get ready. Teeth is coming out. I seen one of the videos. They had a 40-pound wolverine the other day put a 240-pound cougar up a tree. And the wolverine was gaining ground and drawing blood. And that cougar could not get away from him. There is reports that have actually seen them fight a bear a grizzly bear and a grizzly bear retreat. People, I like something that nasty. That's my kind of pet. I'll put a leash on him, walk him down the street. I walk in an alleyway. There's gangbangers down there. He ain't worried. And by the way, I'm going to loosely hold that leash just in case he needs to go somewhere in a hurry. And let him go. But children today, they follow the herd mentality. They want to fit in. So when they go to university, they go to high school, they want to fit in with those. And as they're being taught, they're being absorbed intellectually into a group that you all think like we tell you to think. Man, Christians have to be independently minded. We're the ones that swim against the stream. We're the ones that's different. God don't want us to look like them. You know, I'm sick and tired of watching these people walk by and I can't figure out what they are. So, preacher, that's being ugly. That's being honest. God created male and female. There should be a difference when I look at a male and when I look at a female. But we got you want me to tell you what else? You want me to tell you the worst thing about it? Let's just be blunt for a moment. Do you know what transgender really is? It's a lie. I'm trying to convince you that I'm something that I'm not. It's a lie. You are what God created you. I don't care what you say, you think. I'll make you a deal. We'll go do a DNA test. We'll test your chromosomes. And I bet you're going to test the gender that you are. Because God don't make mistakes. It's a lie. God didn't make you right, so I've got to fix it. So now I'm going to be what I'm not, and I'm going to try to convince you that I am when I'm really this, but I'm going to convince you that I'm that. It's a lie. I'm not trying to be harsh, people. We need to understand this Bible is built on truth. That's built on a lie. Truth has a foundation. Truth has facts. It has things we can build and we can develop. That's just a lie. And it's horrible to think of the lies that we see in our day. Now notice in verse 14, we got this morning, fear the Lord. And And that's basically a verb meaning to fear, to respect, to reverence. One writer said to honor, and I thought that was a wonderful definition. But notice the next thing.
Hey, can I ask a question?
What you got?
You talk about that gender. If that person gives blood, what kind of blood is he giving?
Oh, no.
It's going to be gendered what they are. That's what I mean. You test the chromosome.
Oh,
Yes, you take their blood out, and guess what it's going to be? It's going to be exactly what it
I
is.
think say I'm gonna put on my chart, no blood, I need it.
No, you're going to be. There's a show back in the 70s, and it's a cop show, and the guy gets shot, and two of the guys in his unit donate blood to him. And he tells me, he said, when I woke up and came to myself today, he said, I realized that I had blood from different people.
Yeah.
He said, because I was craving watermelon and spaghetti at the same time.
What sounds good right now?
People, I don't mean that harsh. I mean, people, our culture's not in our blood.
Oh,
Okay? But our hormone is. And you're going to be hormoned what God created you. And I'll prove it to you. You know, I don't care what they say about trans. You can talk trash all day long. I ain't buying it. It's a lie. And we're going to look very simple. Let's look at swimming. That's the one everybody's making the biggest deal. And he that won this year said the difference between this year and last year is I'm happy. Yeah, you're happier because you're cheating and you're winning. They're letting you get away with it. That's why you're happy. Can I tell him something right now? He will never compete with a woman on her level. And let me tell you why. Have you watched female swimmers versus male swimmers? Now, everything built on speed swimming is all about drag. Current dragging and holding you back, right? Aerodynamics, but it's in water. Have you noticed the hips on the female swimmers and the hips on the men that are pretending to be women? They have women hips. Those women are created to bear a child. They have hips that belong to a woman. They're thicker and they're wider than a male who God didn't plan on carrying a child is thinner and flatter. Now, how's that fair? Come here, dude. We're going to put 40 pounds of weight around your waist and swell you up real good. Then we'll let you swim with them. I bet you the women will beat him then. He's cheating to win. Call it what you want to. You getting at me, I don't care. If you got to cheat to win, you're a cheater.
That's right.
Even Jenner saying it should be.
Oh no, you can't. I'm telling you, they can't compete. It's like the guy from New Zealand in the Olympics competed as a transgender woman in the weightlifting competition. He outweighs about 150 pounds. Hello?
I guess he won.
Of course he did, but he couldn't win in the men's division. He couldn't even qualify in the men's division. So he's going to, and that's what kills me. What if I can't compete there? I'm just going to cheat, change the rules, and compete over here. That's what a Democrat does. I can't beat you here, so I'm going to change the rules and win over there. That's what they do. You know, we like organization and facts. They don't. Now notice when he gets into this thought, serve him. And he brings up in sincerity and truth, serve, and that means to work to serve. This doesn't have the thought of a toilsome labor, this burdensome that wears you out. Rather, it has the thought of a joyful experience. I should serve God happy and true. Notice in verse 23 of chapter 24. He said, now therefore put away, said he, the strange gods which are among you, and incline your heart unto the Lord God of Israel. Now the thought is, and we're not, there's not enough to believe that these people had brought these gods into their life. But the potential of these gods coming into their life is very, very real. So Joshua's saying, throw them away, get them away from you. don't even have their little trinkets around your house. Because you have to understand, and I'm not trying to beat down on anybody, but listen. I walk by and I see a Buddha statue. I think it's hilarious myself. You know, you're looking at a bald-headed little fat guy made out of rock, stone, ceramic, whatever, that's never heard nothing, never spoke nothing, never smelt nothing, never felt nothing, and people think he's God. To me, I see the statue, I think it's funny because you picked a short, bald, fat guy to be your leader. Hello? That's funny. But it's tragic in the fact that people have accepted it as God. That's what's tragic. People have accepted it as their God. That's tragic and heartbroken. So I would never have one in my house. He don't bother me, but I never wanted my children to see it and think, you know what? I want to learn about him. I don't want them to talk about Karl Marx in school. Do they have enough sense to know what a communist is? Then we'll talk about Karl Marx. Because if you talk about Karl Marx now, Karl Marx's teachings, if you listen to them, sound pretty good till you find out what they really are. Workers of the world unite. What Karl Marx really wanted and what got destroyed in America to start with. You have to understand, Karl Marx wanted the union, they wanted the people to be unionized and to take over the government. That's what he wanted. But anytime you do that, you notice it always leads to dictatorship. Always. Always. So the people in America actually went to true unions within their company. And the guy that was supposed to oversee the communist takeover in America actually released a letter. He came to America, he went through and saw what the unions were doing, actually wrote a letter and released it publicly that there was no need of a takeover in America because the unions were holding corporate in check, and corporate being held in check would definitely keep the government held in check. There's no need for it. They want it now because they want to stay home and you pay them to do what they want to do. That's the thought. So I don't want them to learn about Karl Marx till they know, guess what? God said by the sweat of your face, you'll eat bread. Listen, you read this Bible cover to cover. God ordained people to work and work hard. To get sweaty, to get dirty, to get whatever it takes to finish the job. That's what God called us to do. The strongest testimony of a Christian is a strong work ethic. If you don't work, don't tell people you're a Christian. Have a strong work ethic. Work. Why? Because that's what God wants us to do. We live in a generation now that thinks we want... I heard a guy the other day, he made the statement that he wanted the government to take over more funding, but quote unquote, because he had so many things he wanted to do on his time that working more than 20 hours a week was an inconvenience to him. Now, I'm just going to be blunt. You read this Bible cover to cover. Y'all ready for this? God intends for us to work 6 days a week. He gives us 1 day to rest and the other 6 to work. Now, I will tell you this. God is fair. God had 4 weeks of vacation lined up for you every year. I don't know if you'd consider one of them a vacation or not. Y'all remember the festival, what they called the booths? When they went out and built booths and lived outside the city? In little booths that they built and stayed there for 7 days? People, that's primitive camping in case you don't know what that means. primitive. As in, no Game Boy, no Switch, no computer, no cell phone, no vehicle, no fast food,
No Arby's.
no nothing, no DoorDash, no we found it in the front yard, we're going to eat it, none of that stuff, okay? I'm just telling you people, I'm not trying to be ugly, that's what it was. But you know what? You spent that time doing one thing. You rested. You know, we Americans, we're horrible about working harder at our vacation than we do at our work. If we're not careful, we will. We'll plan so many things. God says, no, I want you to take a week, and I want you to stay in this booth, and I just want you to rest. Crops are going to be fine. Livestock's going to be fine. Just rest. So God's not against vacation. God planned for it. But God planned for people to work too. Notice a couple of things as we get into this. We live in a society today that they want to serve God, but only when it's convenient. If it's inconvenient, they don't want to serve Him anymore. And I just want to ask real simple. You know, if your Christianity is not inconvenience, it probably is good. It needs to be an inconvenience. Why? Because if I'm going to serve God like I really love Him, it's going to be inconvenient. I'm going to tell you this right now. My wife's in the back, but I can promise you this on both sides. I do things for her and she does things for me because we love each other, not because they're convenient. Sometimes they're not convenient. How many of y'all do things around the house because it's always convenient? Have you noticed things break down when they're the most inconvenient? That's the way it works. And that's what we need to understand. But our service to God needs to be convenient. Go to Deuteronomy chapter 18, look verse 13. The thought of standing before God, blameless, ready to be judged by God. Deuteronomy 18, look at verse 13. Thou shalt be perfect with the Lord thy God. The word perfect there, if you want a good definition for it, I always use the word complete, sincere, upright, any of those definitions. But I always think the word is complete. Our service to God's complete. We've dedicated ourselves to Him. Notice in Psalm 119, verse 80. Let my heart be sound in thy statutes, that I be not ashamed. And that needs to be the prayer of every child of God. God, I want to be sound that everything that I do is what you want. He wants us to serve Him in sincerity. Sincerity. Notice the last thing He said, in truth. And the word truth there is that thought of faithfulness. And one writer said, to walk in truth is to conduct oneself according to God's holy standards. And flip over to Psalm 86. Look at verse number 11. He said, teach me thy way, O Lord. I will walk in thy truth. Unite my heart to fear thy name. People, that's what Christians ought to be focusing on. How can I serve God better tomorrow than I did today? How can I prove to God I love Him more tomorrow than I did today? Those ought to be the focus points, because if we can ever think of a time that we would be closer to God than we are right now, we need to do some soul searching. Why was I closer then? And you know what most times it is, and I don't mean this ugly, but most times if we're not careful, the world just entices us to drift away. And we just slowly start drifting. If we're not careful, we can drift all the way away. And that's what's so deceptive about the devil. The devil's not going to get you out on frozen ice and break the ice on you. No. He's just going to send you on a march, on a trail that goes nowhere. And before you know it, you're wrapped up in your situation and what's going on around you. And tragically speaking, and I don't mean this reference at all, but it's hard to keep your mind on God when everything around the world is collapsing. Because it's easier to think how bad things are. You go in the store and realize the shelves are empty. And let me tell you something, people. Everybody I've heard talking, they say it's going to be worse the fourth quarter than it is now. A lot worse. Why? Because the ships that are leaving Asia right now are less than half full. You stop and think. So we're losing, every ship coming to America now is over half empty. And our shelves are running empty now. So what's it going to be like? They done closed the baby formula plant again, they said, because of flooding. They were going to close it anyway, people, because it gives them power. Now, let me show you how crooked and deceptive they are. If your flight gets delayed, or you can't go to work, or you go to the grocery store, nothing there, you know what they tell you? It's growing pains, you deal with it. They canceled Transportation Secretary Pete, I can't believe he's even in politics, and they voted him in as mayor, Buttigieg. Him and his boyfriend, husband / pervert, they adopted a child the other day, and he got off 60 days from Federal Medical Leave Act so they could bring their child home and get used to their child. Makes me want to throw up. They canceled his flight Friday. He's declaring war on them now. It's all right when they cancel your flight. Can I tell you something about Sir Isaac Buttigieg? Can I tell you something about him? I bet he's got baby formula.
Yeah.
I bet it was flown in for him. How do I know that? Because him can't nurse it. Hello. I did see a meme the other day. It's not right. I laughed. You'd like it, Teresa. You probably want me to send it to you. You know the trainer in the Rocky movies? They got him sitting in a cart. He goes, you know, he's sitting down like this. He said, you know, we didn't have a problem with baby formula till we found out men could get pregnant.
Oh my Jesus.
I saw that.
Isn't it the truth? People, I'm not being tacky, but basic supplies are missing. Women health products are not on the shelf, and they don't know when they're going to be replenished. And I'm not trying to be tacky by no means. People, that's a necessity. But this is what they don't understand. You take that and you take the baby formula. Do you know who has voted in the president for the last 40 years? There's only one group that's voted him in. Who cares this group will win the next election? White, suburban women. What makes a mother madder than she can't feed her child? If I told you you can't eat supper when you get home tonight, that'd be all right. If I told you your baby couldn't eat tonight, you got to put him to bed hungry, what's going to happen? World War III is going to be declared, and there's going to be blood everywhere. Not all of it's going to be yours. A lot of it's going to be mine. They're so dumb. They're attacking the very people they don't think they need, but you can't get elected without them. People, that's what they're not getting. We're so foolish in this country that we know more than God. A baby should never have to go to sleep in this country hungry. Never. Never. Healthcare products should never be limited. Never. If you want to cancel a plane, who cares? I'm not trying to be ugly, but we got vehicles we can drive. You said we're going overseas. What's over there you want to go see?
Nothing.
You know, I'm not trying to be ugly. When you fly and you go to these places, you know, let's be honest. You're pushing the envelope.
Look out the window, what you gonna see?
Cloud.
Clouds.
Cloud. I'm not against travel. I'm not against mass travel. But listen, people, if I had a choice between sending somebody up in an airplane or putting baby formula in a baby's mouth, let's bring some baby formula and take care of these children. I give you this and I close. I just don't get some of this stuff. Okay. 2020. Trump realized we needed more ventilators. We needed the different health care treatment for the nurses to treat the people with COVID. They took 2 auto plants and converted them, and they were making products in less than 4 to 5 weeks, right? They closed a baby formula plant February 1st, and they've yet to open a facility to make formula. And I don't know if you looked at your watch, but it's been past 4 weeks. They don't care. They don't. Every baby dies is one less they got to feed. But follow this. I'm going to give you a scenario. You tell me where this came from. Abortion. Abortion, what they really want to do is use it for population control. Because once they get abortion to where they can do anything and everything they want, you know the next thing they're going to do? If you're above 65, they're just going to tell you to live with it and die. And if you're not dying fast enough, they're going to help you. Third thing they're going to do is they're going to start going after the mentally impaired. I know most of your families are going to be gone. I know they're not going to be here. They're going to wipe them out. Once they do that, then they're going to go after groups of people. It's exactly what they're doing. That's why abortion is so pivotal for them. Because once you get abortion, then you get euthanasia. They're going to go after the elderly, then they're going to go after the mentally weak. When you can no longer pay taxes, they're going to get rid of you. Period. That's what the Democrat Party is after. That is their whole agenda. Do you know where that comes from? Mein Kampf by Adolf Hitler. When the Democrats blame you, understand they're only blaming you for what they're doing. They're trying to cast blame on you before you figure out what they're doing. They don't care about America. They don't care about you. The only person we have that cares about us is God and those around us that love us and pray for us. So let's live for God today, because we don't have tomorrow, but buddy, we got today, don't we?